We're going to be continuing with our next session, Music-Changemakers and Embracing Diversity. Important topic. Change is happening in the music industry, and it's driven by a group of determined individuals who have faced inequality head-on and created initiatives that create real action. This session right now will give an overview of the variety of diversity changes that the industry is seeking and shows what can be done and has been done through organization and togetherness. We have 4 fantastic speakers here with us today who will be coming up one after the next. First, we have Lana Wittig, then we will have Lina Burghausen, then we will have Cyrielle Tambi, and finishing off with Chiara Nachia. Let me welcome our first speaker on stage. Lana Wittig is Head of Partnerships at Edition F. She leads Hey Ladies and is part of Edition F, which supports women through personal and professional development. Feel free to take your seat as we bring Lana Wittig up on stage.
Hello. Okay, hi, I'm Lana Wittig. There's lots of room up front, so like old school concerts, please come up to the front so you can talk to me. I'm serious. Please, could you come up front here so it feels a little more comfy for me? That would be very nice. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see some men in the audience. It's always very funny how when the next diversity topic is announced on stages like these, men just get up and leave the room, and I'm always left with amazing, but still only women. So nice to join us, men. I was asked, I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to be really quick. And I'm really sorry, but I'm here to bring the bad news. So I'm opening this, this course on diversity, and I would just give you a little status quo update on women in the working world in Germany. And I would present you some numbers from 0 to 100%. And if anyone has an idea what these numbers mean, please take a guess. Otherwise, I will just tell you. So the first number, this is 0%. Right now, a lot of the stock exchange listed companies in Germany, so listed companies in the DAX, which are 160 of the biggest companies in this country, have a target number of 0 women on their boards. So this is what they think is an appropriate number of females on their boards to go into the future with their company. The first female CEO for 2019, the first ever female CEO for a German company, was just announced last week. That's for SAP, a huge software company. So maybe that's, a good first step, but there's still 159 to go. 8.8%. That's the number of females on boards in listed companies in Germany. So over 91% of CEOs in Germany are male, and the number is actually stagnant. So there's no change inside. %, that's a relatively well-known number. That's the gender pay gap. So women in this country earn 21% less than men. There's a day called Equal Pay Day that's usually happening in March. And that's the day where, in reference, women would start to get paid for the year. So if you compare, men will get paid on the 1st of January, and women will get paid around the 7th of March usually. It's a little different each year. More bad news. 30% That's the 30% less women in leading positions earn than men in this country. So like 1/3 less of a wage on their accounts every month. 22.6%. That's how much women usually earn in a family, in a binary family household income. So in a family where you have a man and a woman and a child, the mother usually takes part in the income for the family for 22.6%. %, less public pension women get in this country. So 1/4 less money to live in old age. That's actually what results from, of course, the wage gap that we have. So there's a pension gap as well. That's why a lot of older women are poor and lose their homes and can't provide for themselves in Germany. 50% in creative industries, in jobs in creative industries, are women, versus 1/5 of leading positions in the creative industries are positioned with females. So I don't really have to comment that. You can make that up yourself. And 61%, that's the number that women earn less 10 years after they have their first child. So if I earn a certain number when I'm 30, get pregnant, when I'm 40, I will likely have 61% less wage. Men, of course, don't see any difference 10 years after they have their first child. And that's the number of CEOs that are male in German music companies, major German music companies. There's not one female CEO in major companies in the music industry in this country, and I think that's one that we should change very quickly. So this is me giving you bad news. And I have a lot of ideas how to solve these problems, but I only have 10 minutes on this stage, so I can't give them to you now. But if you have questions, I'm here a little longer, and you will have time to ask them after these 3 other lovely ladies speak on stage. And yeah, we'll have fun with them.
Thank you so much for that, Lana. And we're going to be bringing you back on stage for the Q&A in about 20 minutes or so. Next up, I'm very excited to bring Lina Burghausen on stage. She is a music promoter at the company Mona Lina, at your company. Since 2014, Lina has been supporting artists with her Leipzig-based agency, Mona Lina, in the fields, promotion, and consulting. She has a focus on hip-hop and urban music, and mainly works with independent artists and labels. You also have an exciting blog project, 365 Female MCs, which recently won an International Music Journalism Award at Reeperbahn Festival, and I think that that really does deserve another round of applause. In addition to your work as a promoter and blogger, you are also a freelance author for WDR Cosmo and a DJ playing shows all over Germany. I'm very excited to bring you up on stage for this talk on Music-Changemakers and embracing diversity. Give it up for Lina.
Hi guys. First of all, I have to say sorry because of my voice. I just got a terrible flu last night and I'm not really able to speak at all, but I'll try my best and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you, Lana, for the happy talk. Yeah, I am here to deliver maybe one of the ideas to change on those numbers Lana presented. It's just my idea. It was my way to say, okay, I want to make a change about the way women are treated in our industry and the battles women have to fight in our industry. And for me, I'm a hip-hop girl, so of course my world that I was about to change was hip-hop. And yeah, today I want to speak to you from different perspectives, like from the fan perspective. I'm a huge hip-hop fan since the age of 9. I'm absolutely crazy about this, I'm such a nerd. Like from a professional perspective as a music journalist, music promoter, and of course also from the perspective as an artist, as a DJ. When I fell in love with hip-hop, I wasn't really thinking much about gender equality, about sexism. I just loved the energy, and of course I kind of realized that I was the only woman or the only girl that was into hip-hop, like all around, but I kind of liked being special and being the only one. I never really thought about it. The thing is, I always had to prove that I am a legit part of this culture, that I know about hip-hop, that I deserve being hip-hop. I always had to explain myself why a little girl would like a male-dominated culture. And that kind of sucked. And I never really questioned why this was happening. I even treated other girls and women the same way that I was treated. I always suspected, okay, she's a girl, she's fake, she can't know anything about hip-hop. And it took me like, I don't know, 10 years to see how wrong I am about this. Like, how isolated I am and how this needs to change. And when we talk about hip-hop, I experienced that women face a huge lack of visibility, and that's what I want to talk to you about, that we need to increase the visibility of women, not only in hip-hop, but in music in general. It's like when we talk about hip-hop, for example, we have this history of the 3 founding fathers, and I don't know how familiar all of you are with hip-hop in general, but there's this tale that there are 3 men in New York that found hip-hop, that developed the idea of hip-hop, and of course 3 men, there were no women involved, and fact is there are so many women in the history of hip-hop we should talk about, but no one really does, and that's something I think we should change, because girls and women need role models. Everyone needs a role model. Like when I grew up, I don't really think I had like female rappers I related to, I had male role models, like male rappers, but I never really developed the idea that I could rap as well. I never really got to that point because I didn't see anyone on stage who was like me. And I guess that's a huge problem for many women, and maybe a point why they don't even start to rap. So girls and women need to see women in the history books of music. They need to see women on stage. They need to see women in the media. That's a big point. I heard countless stories like mine. The isolated girl, loving hip hop, blah, 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 who finally found out she's not alone with it, who finally builds a bond to other women, and who makes a difference. And yeah, it's like, I also brought some numbers. Even when you take a look at like best lists of the best hip hop songs of all time, this is from 2018, the BBC editors named the best hip hop songs of all time. There are 2 that were made by women. They are all older than 20 years. So women don't see hip hop in the media, and that's a huge problem. So I kept asking journalists or bookers or people in the industry why they won't be working with more women, why they don't book women, why they don't write about women. And the answer always was kind of the same, like, yeah, we would talk about women, but there aren't plenty of them, and they aren't just really interested in hip-hop, so there aren't many rappers at all. And I was thinking, okay, really? I started looking them up and searching for those like rare species of not really existing female rappers, and I found more than 1,300 rappers who happen to be female and who are kind of dope. So I was thinking, okay, why does no one talk about them? And I started a blog series where I said, okay, you say there are no women in hip hop, let me show you like 365 female MCs, and I'm always very good with finding names, so I named the blog series 365 female MCs, where I show the people that there's so much talent in, with women in hip hop, and where I presented for each day of the year one female rapper. It was a blog series that happened like 12 months in a row. It just got finished in October. And yeah, it earned me this International Music Journalism Award, and I remember being on stage accepting it this year at Reeperbahn Festival. And I'm super grateful I got this for all of this work, but on the other hand side, I just wish it wasn't necessary, because I mean, it's 2019 and I still have to show people that, wow, there are women rapping. What it did, it brought a whole lot of attention on women, but it, or on the topic, but it also gave women in hip hop a whole lot of empowerment. So I received messages from female rappers who were desperate, who wanted to quit rapping because they didn't feel seen, they didn't feel appreciated. And being a woman in hip hop is so tough, because you always get this, yeah, you shouldn't be here, you don't belong here, and especially working with a lot of male professionals in the culture can be tough. So for them it was like super important to see. I also got a lot of positive feedback by bookers, by journalists who used my blog project to do research, to book more female artists. This week, the first hip-hop festival in Germany announced that they are going to be part of the Key Change initiative, like the Tape Fabric, so finally, woohoo. And I know that this has a lot to do with my work, to show them, okay, it is possible to do a like diverse lineup, all based on male and female artists. So my time is running up. I brought you something because I want to give you some advice. What can we do to grow the visibility of women in hip hop? Or you can trade it to any genre, because it's the same bullshit anywhere. Let's say it's techno, let's say it's metal, it's the same thing all over. First thing is listen. Listen to the music of women. It's as simple as that. Trade your favorite boy group, whatever, in your playlist to a female artist. Because you can earn them streams, go to their concerts, and of course listen to their messages, take them serious. The second point is talk. Not only talk about them, spread the word that there are amazing female artists, but talk about them the same way you would talk about men. When you read articles or interviews with or about women, you always have this, wow, yeah, she's good for a girl, or she can absolutely keep up with a man. No, I mean, she's not a unicorn. It's absolutely normal and usual that a woman is on stage rapping or performing her ass off, and treat her the same way, the same professional way as you would treat a man. Third point, ask yourself if there's a female artist for whatever you are looking for. Like when you are looking for a live act for your venue, or if you are looking for new songs for your radio show or whatever, or a feature guest for your album, think about if there's a woman who can do it as well to increase this visibility, because it's an issue that is on all of us. And the last point, and I'm done with my time, is create spaces people can't ignore. If women don't happen in mainstream, create a space for them to be seen. And that's what I did with my blog. I created a space where women can be seen that is so big that it just can't be ignored. So I would love to talk to you about what's next, but my time is up. Let's just get in touch after the panel, and I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Lina. Next up, I'm excited to bring on Cyrielle Tambi on stage. A researcher from Europa University Viadrina. Wait. You've switched. Okay, no problem. Okay, so there was a slight switch. The next person who's coming up on stage, or is already on stage, is Chiara Nakia, who's production and communication manager at Tapa Productions. Since 2014, she has been working as press assistant for the European Reggae Festival Rotterdam Sunsplash in Spain. You are also the coordinator for the editorial staff of Reggae Radio IT, where you run the column Island Pop. So really looking forward to this session, and then we're going to be bringing Cyrielle up on stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but next? Okay. Sorry guys, I'm not so skilled technically. Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is Chiara Nakia, and I'm very happy to be here today. I'm a journalist and I'm a proud member of Topa Production, who is a team of 6 women promoting dancehall and dancehall culture in Berlin and beyond. I don't know how familiar you are with dancehall and dancehall culture, so I have really a very short digression. Next, okay. Dancehall is a music genre originated in the inner city of Kingston, Jamaica in the early 80s. Technically speaking, dancehall is a synthesis between the process of digitalization happening in Jamaican music and what we call DJ style, which is basically the chatting and chanting and toasting on music that inspire hip-hop. Maybe you're more familiar with that. So, in Jamaican popular culture, when we talk about dancehall, we talk about 2 things. We talk firstly about a music genre and an industry, originated in the 80s, but we talk also about a space where downtown people used to get together to enjoy their free time because they weren't allowed to go uptown to enter the clubs. They probably couldn't afford it, so they brought their big speakers, wear their best dress and outfits, and go for party. So when I put together this collage, I wasn't looking for a picture representing males. I was just to look for pictures representing the 70s and 80s era, just to give you the vibe. But then I realized, like, well, then there are no women in this frame. And there are no women in this frame because there were no women in this frame. The dichotomy I have explained to you, I have just mentioned about industry and space. It's very important in this case because if the space allows women to get in, actually they are very welcome in that space for their beauty, sexiness. They are always addressed in the songs and in the lyrics. We can't say the same about dancehall as industry. We don't see many women. It's not even the 80%, 20% we generally speaking in the music industry. It's way less. Let's be sure I don't forget important parts. So, but the women's are there, actually are there, are beautiful, are talented, are loud, and things are changing and are changing very fast, and they want to be heard. This is not that important. This is me nerding about making you aware that the slang 10 was the first digital rhythm ever built in Jamaica, 1985. Not necessary. Okay, these are the women. When we talk about, sorry. When I was approaching dancehall, for sure, for me, it was very strange and was, I mean, it was everything that they were doing, saying, was totally new for me. I come from Italy. I had a very different background. I had a Catholic background, and I realized that I had to learn a lot about the language, about the sound system culture, about the history of Jamaica, the rich cultural and artistic environment. But the first thing that really inspired and fascinated me were women. And despite the very traditional and patriarchal and even called misogynist society, I saw them there fighting for their space. So this is also another unnecessary story. Okay, so when I was there, I was looking at the beauty, the sexiness, the styles, the skills, and everything they were putting out there, also the indecency for taking their space. I was just fascinated and I wanted to know more. Of course, I asked myself question about sexualization and objectification of women. I had to dig back in the history and search for some very talented researcher and brave researcher who brought dancehall in the academia, because it's not you study cultural studies and you talk about dancehall in Jamaica. Dancehall is ghetto music. People don't want to listen about that in the university. Those researchers, Cyril would say something more about it, explained to me that dancehall was the voice of voiceless people, and of course also the voice of voiceless women. They were a tool, not just of reappropriation, but was a tool of appropriation firstly, because they had no other voice than that. They were tackling the decent, traditional Jamaican culture, which is the uptown culture, which is the culture imposed by the colonizers. This was also a tool for economic emancipation, formal or informal, because the dancehall scene in Jamaica is rich of informal way to make money through it. And I have learned that this is a process. This is Spice. I will talk about her very soon. I just want to give, I hope this is gonna work. This is a very successful artist. This is how she got on stage at Sunfest 2017. Well, okay, we don't have music. Anyway, she came on stage with her bed, then took a shower and talked about, okay. She talked about how she want dig and create, she want kill men who violate and this is the moment, and use violence against women. These are topics that are not everywhere, that these women brought up in their ways. What I have learned from dancehall, I learned that generalization is risky. It's a complex and controversial word. It's difficult to say if everything you say is emancipation, empowerment, but for sure, This is a big attempt to undermine what they have experienced thus far in their lives. Dancehall is entertainment, is a show. Don't be judgy, then just go and enjoy it. Compromise are no more requested. Those veterans, I'm just not talking about Spice, who is already a fourth generation artist. I'm talking about people like Lady So, I'm talking about Sister Nancy. They went out there and they could be only two types of women. They could be the saint or they could be the horse. So they could be the cultural artist or the slackness dancehall artist, where when we talk about slackness, we talk about using extreme hardcore sexual content in your songs. Vulgar almost, or sometimes it is. Now, thanks to the doors they open, the new generation of artists can experiment, can choose about what to sing, what message to give, what type of aesthetic they want to show to their audience. And I learned that networking is powerful. In these last 10 years, thanks to social media and how the communication is faster now, a lot of joint venture, joint projects are happening between the dancehall family here in Europe and Jamaica. We as Topper Production, we have been touring for many years, talented street dancer, in Europe, in collaboration with Dance JA Academy, which was one of the first company professionalizing them and give them really the skills to get out of the island. What I want to say about networking is that women inside of this world are opening a Pandora's box. They are bringing up topics that I've never touched before in the dancehall world, like colorism, cultural appropriation, masculinity, opening up toward the LGBT community, sexism, beauty privileges, beauty standards, and much more. So things have changed and are changing, and I really want to say it because there are a lot of stereotypes about the dancehall world. Just my time is over, but I want to show you some artists who are really inspiring me, inspiring the community and changing the things out there. And that is why I'm saying the present is female, not the future is female, because I see them here. Spice is an independent artist, was the first dancehall artist ever, not female, ever, to reach 1 million followers on Instagram. You can tell me that followers are not important. I can tell you that when you are an independent artist without an album out there because your label is not producing it, although you have a contract, is important. This is Shensia, probably the biggest and fastest career in the last 2 years, and with a great crossover potential. This is Latonia Style, who create Dance JA Academy. This is Coffee, maybe you are familiar with her, is the biggest and youngest sensation from Jamaica right now. This is Nikki Kane, just to talk about women behind the scenes. One of my favorite video maker and art directors in Jamaica right now. Lila Ike, just to represent one of the artists and the female behind the Indignation family. She is mixing up old school vibes with reggae music, with whatever she wants, in the way she wants. That is possible thanks to the ladies and women who work hard before her. So we may talk about many, many more of them because they are there, they are doing music. So if you are interested, you can go out there and look for the real originators. Just one thing, what I wish me for the future, I would like to see more female producers. It's very difficult to find female in this part of the business, and I would like to say really women tackle the sound system business, but this is another topic, which is another Pandora's box. So, thanks a lot. I hope there were not too many information. If you're looking for what we are doing, www.topper-production.com. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chiara. And next up, I'm excited to bring on stage Cyrielle Tambi, who's a researcher at the Europa University Viadrina. You were born in Paris, and since 2014, Cyrielle has traveled also regularly to Jamaica to attend dance workshops, and she's also been conducting academic research with Jamaican scholars, and I'm sure we're going to learn more about this in a moment. Welcome on stage, Cyrielle.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm a dancehall dancer and a researcher in cultural studies in the field of African diaspora studies, gender studies, post-colonial studies. I'm from France and India, and I live in Berlin currently. So today, I would like to talk about issues embraced by women involved in Black popular cultures, especially in the dancehall dancing scene. So first, as Chiara mentioned it, dancehall emerged in the 1980s in the ghettos of Kingston, and it is closely related to what is happening in the everyday lives of poor Black people in the inner city of Kingston. The dancing part in itself is gendered, so they have like male dances, male moves, female dances, female moves, and also social dances that are not technically hard to be performed because they aim to be danced by everyone in the communities, from the children to the older generation. So one of the central dimensions of dancehall dancing in Jamaica is the street party. So different dance crews attend the same parties every week. So we have most of the popular parties are Uptown Mondays, Boozy Tuesday, Weddy Weddy Wednesday, Day Rave Thursday, Spicy Friday. On the weekend, the dancers take some rest. They do a little break because they're tired. But this kind of repetition of events inscribe the idea that dance is a work. Yes? So now, this is like how a party looks like in Jamaica. So this is really interesting, this idea of work, which is not a typical 9 to 5 work, but a 1 to 7 a.m. work. And in this way, the street dances and the parties inscribe the idea that, that dancing and survival occur through work, and they provide the resource and conditions for poor Black people from the inner city of Kingston to survive as dancehall dancers. So street parties provide visibility for dancers as they are then seen and recruited by promoters, by artists, to go on tour, to perform with them, to teach workshops overseas and also in Jamaica. And this industry of dancehall provide an economic capital also for survival. So the dancing milieu is also male-dominated, and young Black men from the same communities have their own crews, and they dance or create moves in front of their yard, also in front of their homes, and then perform and promote these moves at night at the street parties. So there is a little space for women in this climate of the streets, this climate of the street parties, and in dancehall generally. So female dancers can have crew formations when they go on tour, when they perform for artists, when they perform for video shooting, but in the everyday rhythm of the street parties, they are not really organized, so they dance rather like individually. And only at the end of the parties, they are like 10 minutes, 10 tiny minutes, where the selector, the DJ, plays what is called gal tunes, so girl songs, female songs, where female dances can be performed. So this is where the female dancers go to the center of the street party and perform and dance. And because there is not that much time, they have to give everything. So they have to perform with excess, to split, to do some split, to do head top, to play with their over-sexualized bodies in a very entertaining way. And this type of female dance is called dancehall queen style. So there are competitions. There are competitions of dancehall queen styles. So every year it happens all over the world where dancehall is represented. And the first dancehall queen was Carlin Smith. In 1992, she was elected. So this is Carlin Smith. So Carlin Smith is a symbolic figure of femininity in Jamaica. And Carlin Smith, as the other dancehall queens, as the other female dancers, play with attitude. They have their shiny outfits, they play with dancing tricks, and they also express the fact that they are in control of their own body, and they are in control of their own sexuality. So in this male-dominated milieu, as I mentioned it before, dancehall queen style is a political statement. It's a political statement to seek for visibility and to claim the space as a black Jamaican woman who are in the Jamaican society neglected from any form of representation, but also in the dance, yes? So it's very interesting to look at how the sexualization of the black female body, who has been used for many years during the colonial time as a form of oppression, how it can be reused and rerouted by black women into a tool of empowerment. And it's also important to mention that it is the only tool for marginalized women in Jamaica to be voiced. So this is a tool which is colonized or recolonized. And this statement has been also formulated by very, very important scholars, like the Jamaican scholar Caroline Cooper, who is working on the dancehall scene since the 1990s, and she wrote actually a lot of papers about this space-claiming dimension of dancehall. And as dancehall was still content, was still a local artistic practice performed in Jamaica by Jamaican dancers. But then around 2010, 2012, dancehall became more present at the international level, so which is actually female dominated. So gender dynamics and racial dynamics change too, not just gender dynamics, because it's not enough just to talk about women generally, but there are like differences also among women. So it means that more white women from Europe, from the USA, from Asia became involved in this industry. These women recognize themselves in the way dancehall promotes empowerment through the body and female empowerment through the body. And at that time, Jamaican female dancers such as Latonia Style, who has been mentioned before, or Stacia Fire or Chemical Versatile, created a move that they called Empower or Fabulous or Confidence. So empower, empower. This is confident, and this is fabulous. So you can see the empowering performance of femininity. Thank you. At that time, the female Jamaican dancers started to teach the movement of the waistline, wine, all over the world. So they traveled all over the world to teach, like Shelly Expression and other dancers, women at a global level to reconnect with their sexuality and with femininity as a form of empowerment. So today, Black cultural production is popular in Europe. It's famous. We can now find dancehall classes, voguing classes, twerk classes, Afro classes, hip-hop classes in almost every kind of dance school. So we can say that Black cultural production is mainstream, but there is little knowledge about the space-claiming dimension, about the political dimension, and the historical context in which these forms of artistic practices emerged. So a couple of weeks ago, this is what happened in a true twerk camp, it is called like this, in Russia. So this is a performance of a woman who wears a blackface costume. Do you know what blackface is? Who knows? And who has never heard about blackface? Everybody knows? I can skip then what blackface is. No, I'm going to mention it. So blackface is a form of theatrical makeup used predominantly by white performers to represent Black people in caricatural ways. So this practice gained popularity in the 19th century and contributed to the spread of racist stereotypes about Black people, about their culture, about their attitude. And this practice reinforced the sexualization of the Black body and also the perception of the Black body as a commodity worldwide, yes? So this video about the twerk performance in blackface went viral on the internet, and there was also a huge backlash in the dancehall community, in the twerk community. But it's interesting to look at some reactions from the organizers and from the performer herself. It's small, but because these reactions contains a kind of ignorance. When we read the comments, please accept my apologies about my ignorance. Unfortunately, I only learned what's true about dancing and nothing else. Or in the right side, unfortunately, we were not aware of the part of the American history, the blackface, and we're sorry about it. So there is a kind of ignorance about the historical context of Black cultures, and also a kind of active rejection of recognizing these acts, the blackface, as an act of racism, as the comment in the middle. She is an artist, and she put it a show not trying to hurt anyone, and she didn't. So recently, many scholars have opened up the conversation about the ignorance of historical context, especially when it comes to the history of Black people. Robin DiAngelo illuminated the phenomenon of white fragility, and she actually refers to these defensive moves that white people make when they are challenged racially, or when they react to acts of racism by arguing or by being simply silent. So she examines how right fragility develops at a systemic level, so not at the individual level, and also how we can work to challenge this practice or pattern of white fragility. So concretely, I'm going to wrap it up here, whether we are situated as white women from Europe, or a black woman from Europe, or from Jamaica, these different layers create different powers dynamic and produce different outcomes. So it's not just enough to talk about women generally, yes, or to empower women to seek for more representation. We have to differentiate because we face different struggles depending on where we are located in the social order, in the societies we are living in. So by looking at how a discourse of empowerment is expressed, we can see differences when it's performed by positions isolated from any political context about dancehall, like the position embodied by the white woman in the video, in the blackface video, or when it is performed by a position at the margins, like the black woman in Jamaica who seek for visibility in their own societies. So without any knowledge about the political meaning of black cultural production, dancehall can be rerouted into a practice of empowering those with privilege, and it can reinforce the trivialization and invisibility of those who actually created the tools to be seen. So we have to be aware about it, and it can reinforce racist dynamics. Yeah. So there is a need to make knowledge circulate, because knowledge already exists. So to make it circulating about the circumstances and the political meaning and the historical production of black cultures, but also a need to reflect our own position as women in this type of creative industry. Thank you.
You can stay here because we're going to have a Q&A now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for that, Cyrielle. And I think it's super interesting to have two talks on Jamaican culture. I'm German Jamaican, so this was interesting for me. I would like to ask Lana, Lina, and Chiara back on stage for a quick Q&A. Let's get the Slido up. I think a few questions came through. We have 5 questions. We don't have that much time. So the first question is to Lana. Come on up on stage, to the middle. How can a female professional reach higher positions without having to work double as hard as a man to get the same recognition? We don't have too much time, so.
Okay, sorry, I just have to think about it for a second. Well, I think we need a change in society and economy for that to happen. The status quo is, okay, this is me again with the bad news. So this will likely not happen. I think what in reality is a good tip really for people, for females, for especially women of color, to get into leading positions is just to build a network, to get mentors on your side within the company, and just really to do your best, and that's all you can do, really. For more justice in the working world, I think no individual can really do that for herself. So we just need politics to get involved. I think we need the private sector to get involved to really do the necessary steps and take the necessary steps for change to happen.
Great, thank you for that. There's 2 questions to Chiara and Tambi, so I'm gonna, and Cyrielle, so I'm gonna pull those together. First to Chiara, could we say that music could bring... Okay, these are the two questions. How do you feel connected to dancehall personally, and do you work with Jamaicans? And could we say that music could bring together women all over the world and empower them?
I've been working with, I work with Jamaicans as tour manager. I've been working with Jamaicans when we have events and when I run interviews. And you know, the first time I went to Jamaica, a little excursus, they thought I've already been there so much because I was always learning and reading and try to be ready, but you are never ready for that. And how do I feel connect personally? It's that it changed my life. Of course, it was one of the biggest love of my life, of my great passion. But, and here I go to the second question, bring together women all over the world and empower them. I think that without what keeping as super important what Cyril explained, is not empower nobody. Also because we come not only from different backgrounds, it's not just the cultural background, it's just the opportunities you have. So when I talk about empowerment, when I have all possibility to empower myself through education, to work, to earn my own money, pay my own things, it's a totally other reality than having dancehall as the only way to communicate and using it as a political and economic tool. So I think we come from different backgrounds and we need to be focused on them to keep the respect for the culture and not to fall in situation as Cyril has presented. So yeah, this is basically my my answer.
Okay.
I think you can explain that.
Yes. Oh, I think I can talk.
Yeah, maybe I can read out the question one more time. The next, this just jumped. Maybe to Chiara and Tiambi. Do women feel forced to show their body in order to be considered? Is it freedom or another way to objectify women to please men?
Okay, I think as Chiara mentioned it's important to think about the body as the only way of expression to be recognized in a society for Jamaican women, so they are not forced in the way that people tell them, hey, you have to dance if you want to be seen. It's just how can we strategically use the only tool that we have to be visible in order to improve our conditions of living. So we have to decenter our Western vision of survival and of making the economic capital growing if we want to understand survival in Jamaica or in post-colonial societies more generally. And the second question, how we can approach, and then you can go for the first question maybe.
I think I just want to say something about, is it freedom or another way to objectify women to please men? I think when you have the freedom to decide if you use your body or not, it's freedom. If you don't have the freedom, then it's not a freedom anymore. So, and also here I think I focus a lot in my way to look at it from an economic point of view in order to empower it. Yeah.
Okay, and now we're coming to the last question, which is for you again, Cyril. How can we approach such a different cultural context without disrespecting or appropriating the culture?
Okay, for the last question, I think it's important to learn the history, the context in which these cultural practices have been created, to be aware about the colonial past also of Europe and the colonies, the former colonies. And it's also important to learn from the people who created and who developed the culture. So in this particular way, to learn from Jamaican dancers, to invite them, to teach workshops, to promote them in the first way, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your input. And if there are any other questions from the audience, do know that our speakers are encouraged to go to the speakers lounge after their talk, stay there for about 15 minutes, and you can interact there or meet over a drink later tonight, whatever you want. Anyway,
Thank you.
another round of applause. Thank you all.